What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 765 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk Podcast Hot Tags edition of the week, where we're going to be breaking down all the things that happened in the world of pro wrestling over the past few days. We got TV recaps, we got title changes, people leaving companies, people joining companies, predictions for the future, all sorts of different things here. And if you don't know who we are, I'm Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
Rob DeFelice.
Hey.
Keep in mind that you listening are part of this program as well, so drop your thoughts in the comments section below or wherever it else is that you are listening to us. Chat it up on different social media platforms, chat it up on our Discord server, pop on over to those channels and just have fun with the fantasy booking side of things, or the AEW discussion, the WWE discussion, getting to the Fanboys Anonymous elements of those things over there too. We got your different options that you can help support us. One of the great ways to do that is just hit the like button, subscribe, usual kind of stuff that happens on YouTube. But if you want to help out on the monetary side of things as well, then we got the merch table options of Redbubble and TeePublic. We got our little tip jar thanks button that's on there on YouTube. And of course, if you want to be a part of the more advanced subscription side of things, then you got the YouTube channel membership and the Patreon. Different tiers there are all greatly, greatly appreciated. So whether you're on the Darkcast option or the Choose Your Stipulation one, or even just $1 a month, then it makes you an awesome, awesome supporter, and we really value that. So, hot tags this week. We've got plenty to talk about. Let's go ahead and just start diving into it with some of these different discussions about people bouncing around between companies. One of the things that had been something throughout the week that I think it was you, Rob, that had sent it in the group chat was the New Day video. That, man, talk about a tearjerker type of thing. Yeah, anybody hasn't seen it, it's this video of these two unicorns being in like a rodeo circus kind of environment. They're very clearly chained up. A ringmaster who, pretty obvious who that's supposed to represent. And they break out of there, the Daybreak kind of idea, leaving behind the one of them that has a broken unicorn horn, which is obviously Big E. And now they're roaming free and all. It's a great representation of them being like, okay, well, we're free to leave the shackles of WWE. And I think one of the more effective ways of doing that, compared to the amount of times that we, get the usual, I'm going to have somebody film me pretending like I'm crashing out and going a little crazy video. I'm going to look in the mirror and be like, who is, insert new name that I'm going to be using under the indies thing. Everybody does the same fucking thing. And New Day did this. And, I'm excited to see where Kofi and Woods end up going next, especially after playing around with stuff like this. How do you guys feel about it?
So I'll start with the more upsetting potential update to this, which is that the director of it, Jonathan Davenport, apparently people are saying that he supports AI, so that maybe this was made with AI. I got a couple of comments directly to me saying it was likely AI slop. I didn't see anything that pointed in that direction, but I wasn't looking very hard because I was more emotional about the unicorn with the broken horn. So I just want to put that out there just in case it is AI, which would be unfortunate. But the overall sentiment of the vignette, which I think is one of the better ways to do these, after Mox left WWE, it kind of became a thing where, okay, shoot the little vignette announcing that you're a free agent. And they came up with this. I liked that not only was it the unicorns becoming free, but once they get out of the circus, they're no longer unicorns. They're men again, and they leave the horns behind, which I think is everything you need to know about the presentation moving forward. It excited me. Because they released it on Wednesday, I was like, oh shit, is it tonight? But then I remembered they weren't exactly free yet. I'm excited. I'm super stoked for wherever they end up. I'm excited to see Kofi outside of WWE in any capacity. And
For the first time, essentially.
Yeah, and Creed's always been a really solid wrestler, and I want to see them have fun.
Far be it from me to be the cynical one on the panel, because obviously that's a role that I don't relish taking on at any point in time. But I think that it's essentially like it's just a New Day twist on every single like departure from WWE video that you ever see.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I broke out of the jail.
Yeah.
I've taken the handcuffs off, and it's just like, it's just a unicorn twist on that. When we all know deep down that if they hadn't been given the told to take the contracts reassignment, they'd still be in WWE right now. So far be it from me to just be like, okay, you're just doing what everyone does when they leave WWE in order to get people on side when you show up in AEW. So that's cool. It's just like, they've played to the formula and done it in their own way. So
yeah, like we were saying, like it's definitely become a thing that you have to do. I guess I'm just glad that they even put their own spin on it. It wasn't just another, hey, I'm leaving jail. Like,
no, but it was just a unicorn version of, hey, I'm leaving jail.
Yeah, but I don't know why that became like, now you have to do this. But it's one of those weird things that happens now where it's like, I guess this is part of the formula, which I don't think always needs to be the case.
I mean, people love their fucking formulas, and people don't have creative bones in their bodies 9 times out of 10. That's why, somebody gets engaged, they post a picture of the wedding ring with their hand, and it's like something happened, or like, and then like we've got a gender reveal bullshit thing where like, oh my god, how many times have you clicked on like a social media thing and you've seen somebody post a picture of themselves standing in front of a car and going, I did something or whatever, and you're like, yeah, you saw that happen a bunch of times however many years ago, and you're just adopting the same thing. Everybody feels like when they leave WWE, they're gonna do now I'm completely free to show my creative expression, and the gloves are off. Man, you have no idea how much I'm gonna take the indies by storm. And then we don't hear from 75% of them ever again. And at least the thing I like about this is it's the same thing, but at least it was like, let's try to do the unicorn thing about it instead of just having like somebody with an iPhone film Woods and Kofi all like, we'll put a gradient over it and make it look like it's grunge, and you guys could be yelling at a mirror or whatever, the way that almost everybody else does.
I think, and this last thing I'll say about this, just one of the saddest things about that is one of the only people to take the indies by storm is a guy who's now just back middling on the SmackDown roster, and that's Cardona, which is just crazy how certain things just never really pan out.
Things, they are what they are, in most cases. And you can't just quite fake it till you make it. That's why certain people are like, yeah, when they do leave WWE, wow, their creative explosion is insane. And then they end up being like, God, this person was held back so much. Their matches are so much better. Their promos are so much better. But realistically, 3 out of 4 of those people, you're like, oh, okay, you didn't really have anything else. It was more so you just have a better, ego about yourself. Like, I'm excited to see what these two do outside of WWE, where they have a little bit more freedom, or a lot more freedom in a lot of cases. And they are both super duper talented as it is. So it's like, oh, I'm not worried about them. But when you get people that are just kind of like, I don't know, more fledgling on different sides of the rosters. It happens with AEW too. Like, people will be like, well, now that I'm out of AEW, the sky's the limit. And you're like, I'm never going to hear from you again, ever. You'll be, working the indies, and that's it.
Except for Andrade, who went back and then went back and found himself
his situation's fucking weird. Yeah. Somehow he ends up, he bounces around enough times that eventually it clicks, and then it's like, okay, now everything's great. This is what you should have been doing when you were Andrade Cien Almas in NXT.
He rules.
Well, some other contract type situations. Mara Sade is probably leaving TNA now. They're just losing everyone. Her contract expired. She's now free agent, but like possibly renegotiating. Jakara Jackson got released from WWE NXT during that whole thing that was happening before, where the metaphor, where Lash Legend's going up to the main roster. Jakara Jackson's here, and Ora Mensah's here, and Noam Dar's back, and also two of you can fuck off. And then she did way more in TNA than she did in NXT, and now I don't know if NXT would want her back necessarily, or if TNA is going to just like renegotiate and, maybe she'll stick around with them or whatever. I don't think AEW would pick her up necessarily, especially because they've got all these other people that they're bringing in, Motor City Machine Guns we'll talk about. I'm assuming she either still stays in TNA or maybe she comes back and she gets put on like Evolve or something. Especially because now they're getting rid of Evolve people. Kai Kavari left. Veronica Haven's gone after being in there for a cup of coffee. There might be more releases later on today, according to some reports that are out there, but these are the only ones that we've come across so far. And, they cycle through these Evolve people all the time. Kai Kavari only wrestled maybe 4 or 5 matches or so. Veronica Haven, only a few matches before they decided that they didn't want to pursue somebody that's barely been in the company, which is really crazy to me. I don't know how you can make an assessment of you're so good we want to sign you. Actually, after a few months, we already think you're not worth it. Like, that seems kind of crazy to me. But Mara Sade, Kai Kavari, Veronica Haven, where do you guys think that they end up?
I mean, I think Haven, or I think she's now going by Veronica West. She will probably continue to do the indies. She's still very young. She can, continue to hone her craft and kind of find where she fits. I don't know if the other guy from Evolve is going to continue. I don't know if he was doing stuff before this. But he might.
Said in his release thing that he left the company because he wasn't making enough money to justify why he would be living in Orlando. That apparently he has I guess he has real estate stuff in California.
So yeah, okay. So if I had to guess, he's probably not going to wrestle.
I could imagine that he might wrestle indie things in the California region or something. Because he did say that he was maybe I'll be back and whatever, but it seems like he's just sort of, he also said stuff about being really religious and wanting to be more in church or something. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, isn't the NXT Performance Center the perfect place for that? As far as Mara Sade, that's almost surprising because she continues to really work at it, and from a class of people who sometimes they get released and they just stop, she's continued to want to try to be a wrestler. So I hope she continues to do that. I know she took some early on indie bookings with GCW and JCW, but maybe she continues to do that. Maybe they're already hey, remember NXT? You want to come back here? I don't know, but I imagine she's going to continue wrestling.
I don't know anything about the Evolve people, so I couldn't even judge where they would end up going. Today, it's I think it just depends on whether she is how high up the totem pole she's considering going, or whether she just wants to spend more time on the independent circuit with just a few other different promotions and try out other things. Maybe she's just tired of TNA and wants to step away from there for a while or entirely, then do other things for a little while. I don't think it's out of the question that if she was signed for either WWE or AEW, primarily for maybe like a Ring of Honor thing for AEW or go back to NXT. But yeah, that's like it's. I think she'll definitely continue, but whether that ends up being, I'm not quite sure.
And we'll talk about Motor City Machine Guns a little bit when we come to the Collision side of things. Quick note about Triplemanía. I'm coming across this now. They've moved venues. They were at the Luxor. Now they're going to be at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. I guess they're selling enough tickets that they decided that they were going to go with a bigger one. So I don't know if you're anybody that's, going there, pay attention to that. We got more of Verano to Escandalo that already have been taped, airing on Saturday. So heads up on the AAA side of things. Let's talk about...
And I guess the only AAA news coming out of the show was that Omos is now Dom's heavy in AAA, right?
Yeah, they had the tag team match from Verano to Escandalo, the part that like already broadcast. We do have spoilers for the other stuff if anybody's curious about that.
I know we talked about this a little on the SummerSlam thing, but seeing that they've done this, should he bring the monster with him to fight the silly vampire guy? That's
you would think. You would think, but the way that they treat like AAA is like both canon and not canon in a lot of ways. In a weird way, because it's like on NXT, they'll have Lucian Price be like, "Yo, Bronco Nima, why are you a part of this thing in AAA? Why are you a heel there and a babyface here?" And he's like, "Nah, man, don't worry about it." It's really weird, and like
it's strange.
Carmen Petrovic being a part of that is like, okay, you're actually tied into that, but at the same time, you're kind of not, because equally, Nikita Lyons has this whole other contingent on Evolve with Sloane Jacobs, and
NXT with Natty.
NXT with Natty is a thing, so it's like everybody's polyamorous. It's the NXT culture is everybody's fucking each other, and it's the quick rundown of Verano to Escandalo for anybody that's curious. Mixed tag team titles changed hands. La Hydra and Laredo Kid beat Lola Vice and Mr. Iguana. Los Paris del Mal had their whole tag team match set up, a lot of that, where Dominic Mysterio left El Grande Americano behind, and he is now aligned up with Dorian and Omos, filling that void from Vikingo. So man, that Vikingo stuff, what a lot changes in like a year and a half from how that was all set up. The spoiler side of things, according to the things that I've found, which are very like hit or miss for this, so I don't know if maybe some of this information is not 100% correct, but Rey Fénix apparently retains the Cruiserweight title over Mini Vikingo. Not at all surprising. La Parka wins the AAA qualifier for the Latin American title situation thing and all. He beats Mecha Wolf and Lince Dorado, who replaces Dragon Lee. Apparently Dragon Lee is injured. And Los Hermanos Wagner beat Drago and Dinamico. Sure. Lady Flammer retains the Reina de Reinas championships. I think it's Lady Shani takes a pin, so it makes sense. She's in there. Then they'll probably just build up La Catalina for a one-on-one. El Fiscal qualifies over Cruz del Toro and Psycho Clown. Drake Moreau, I guess, is like a mystery man that's been attacking the clowns or something. So the guy that's very much a super duper baby face, while I'm as fired up as I could be to be a good guy, is now also a heel in AAA. And Jack Cartwheel beats somebody named Noisy Boy. So,
hell yeah. I love both of those names.
Jack Cartwheel, what a fun fucking guy, and what a fun name, and what a fun idea that this dude just like does cartwheels like crazy. Like, I want to see Jack Cartwheel on. Let's put him on every show, even if he's not wrestling. Just have him do like a cartwheel real quick.
He's in the background.
he's just like, that one time where it was that Raw episode where that dude just walked up in front of Batista and was like, and started doing it. Like, have Jack Cartwheel just cartwheel over the screen. You could use that as like a wipe transition, you know? Instead of saying like back to you at the desk, just cartwheel just, you know, pops up. The Omos and Galeno and Damian Priest thing that I had seen as advertised was supposed to be a part of this thing. I guess it's not. So I don't know what's happening there, but here's your AAA updates for the week. And hey, if you don't like the creative for that, apparently boo the wrestlers, according to Triple H. Because he had put up a thing, well, he didn't put it up, but like there was this the interview part of that on the WWE radio thing. I'm going to try to read the quote here exactly so people have the context for it. So this is from at least the transcription from Wrestle Purists. That passion is what drives people. It's no different than what the NFL it's no different than the NFL, where guys that have been played a down of football, that have never played a down of football in their life. Why am I watching this so much? Or haven't played since Pee Wee or whatever, are screaming and ranting, this coach sucks. He knows nothing about football, doesn't understand the game. Why would he run the play? Why wouldn't he do this? Why would they draft that guy? There's millions of reasons why, but it's that passion. Just like the NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball, people sit on the couch and yell, I'm done. I'm never watching the Knicks again. They suck. And then when they win, they're now the greatest thing ever. It's amazing. It's passion. At the end of the day, it's why we do what we do. All of that stuff, yes, I fully agree with. There is an element of, if you haven't done the job, you have no idea the rigors of the job. Now, I have made this clear for 15 fucking years of doing this podcast or whatever. I do not subscribe to the idea of you can't criticize something unless you could do it better. I think that is completely invalid. I think that my analogy that I always go to is, I'm not a Michelin star chef, but if I fucking order a medium steak and you give me medium well or well done, I'm going to send it back. That's just the way that it is. And everybody does it. And everybody is wrong if they say that they don't. It's quite literally impossible for you to function as a human being without being able to criticize when you know that something is wrong, or you feel that your opinion about something is wrong or whatever. For an entertainment subjective thing, you have the right to complain about something. And I fully disagree with this whole, like, who've you beaten? You can't fucking be a writer if you've not actually been in the business. Yeah, you can. But here's the other element of Triple H's quote. I wish sometimes we could put that passion into the talent now, as opposed to when somebody gets heat in our business. It's like, God, why would they write that way, as opposed to that no good piece of crap did this? There's something to saying that innocence of not knowing, and it's still being real to me, damn it. But it is what it is. I love that. I love the hate. I love the love. It's all passion for what we do. So let's strip out the company narrative of, man, when they got this fucking idea in their head with John Cena, they have been hooked on the fucking phrase of, it doesn't matter if you boo, it doesn't matter if you cheer, as long as you're passionate, that's all we care about. That is their catch-all excuse for all criticism means that you're just paying attention, and if you're paying attention, that's all we give a shit about. Why would anybody divert their criticism from the bad writing of a show to the characters on the show when that does not equate? I had a tweet response to this that I'm going to repeat. Thanos wipes out half of the universe. And the response for the creative side of things is, wow, what an asshole. Exactly what Triple H is talking about. Heat on the person. That no good piece of crap did this. Wow, Thanos, what a horrible villain to do such a travesty type of situation. Now, if Thanos walked up to the screen and looked at the camera and said, the writers of Avengers Infinity War have no means of being able to get the attack on Xandar at the beginning of the movie into the script because it's already, the movie's gone too long and they couldn't figure out another way to do it. So we're just going to ignore that. Are you okay with that? Wink, wink. Continue scene, and then shifted back over and was like, now I already attacked Xandar. then that's why people criticize the fucking creative. And in WWE and pro wrestling, there is a different narrative of how this works. And when a heel character does something that makes sense in their heel character, they get fucking booed for it, Triple H. What the fans criticize is like, hey, you set this thing up and then you dropped a plot thread. It's not the heel didn't do something when you changed the creative and you just drop a plot thread. There's literally no argument for this. It's insanity. And it's like, okay, everybody that's in that kind of mentality, he's fucking shaking hands with an idiot that thinks that diarrhea lettuce is perfectly fine and that's going to make everybody healthy. The delusion of that side of the political spectrum, all the other kind of things, you cannot put your fucking hands over your eyes and your ears, go la la la. If I don't like the facts, then they don't exist. But
that's when they're also the same people who say facts don't care about your feelings. Okay, so the reason this infuriates me is I hate when they do this thing where it's literally just, we will wake up today and we will choose the narrative that we want to, put out there. Because sometimes it's like, oh man, we deserve Emmys. This isn't a sport. We're just characters. And it's the minute that shit goes sideways, they're like, oh, these people, why can't they just enjoy the show? Like, I'll give you a good example from a great TV show, The Bear.
I haven't seen it, but everything was great.
Everyone that has seen it will say the same thing. Season 1, great. Season 2, great. Season 3, they got a little full of themselves. It really fell off in Season 3, but they recovered in Season 4, and from what I'm hearing, they land Season 5 very well. That's the same shit. You are critiquing the structure of the show. You are critiquing the creative. And yeah, wrestling fans are annoying.
Yeah.
And
fans of everything are annoying. They can be.
I understand that. You know what I mean? I understand that, whole concept. But, at the same time, when you so desperately want to say we're not a sport, we're just this, and then you're fucking comparing yourselves to the NBA and the NFL as soon as it's convenient. I hate that. It's like, it's your fault. Everyone knows everything. It's your fault.
There's something to be said about how people used to not know things and that used to be better. Tune in to WWE Unreal.
Right. It's like, and yeah, you can argue Unreal's, also just a fabricated thing, but I'll let you know right now. This is one of the funniest stories I've ever had. I was watching WrestleMania, I think it was back in 2018, and my cousin comes in and she's like, oh, I know the real story of what happens because I watch Total Divas. And it's just like, sure, that's what they wanted. They want people to think they know what's going on. So guess what? When the shit goes sideways, it's, hey, Triple H, you suck. Because we're constantly told you're the one in charge of all of this.
Mm.
It just bothers me that the minute it doesn't work for you, it's, oh man, why can't you just be a fan and just be in kayfabe? It's like,
because people don't want to fucking admit that the reality of the way that people, it's across the fucking planet, people do not want to take accountability. And they don't want to actually be fair about things, and they don't want to actually own up to their own mistakes. And instead of just being like, obviously this is a much minor example in comparison, but when I'm reading that quote right then, did I not fucking stumble? And did I not go, goddamn, I'm fucking this up? Instead of going, the issue is something else.
The issue is the way the tweet was written. Fuck you.
Yeah, no. The problem is my eyes were adjusting to it. No, I was fucking stuttering, and that's what happened. I hate this mentality of Triple H's quote is essentially the idea of when, somebody would I don't know if this is a universal experience or not, but when somebody would trip in high school, for instance, and it's like, their books fly all over the place or whatever. You got 3 potential responses. If people laugh at that, you can either go, wow, I busted my ass there, didn't I? What a fucking idiot. I just tripped like that. Or you could do the thing that always, I thought was ridiculous. Oh, I meant to do that. Sure you did. Now you look like a complete loser for lying on top of it because nobody's fucking believing you. And when it comes to the Triple H quotes and stuff like this, when everybody does the whole like, praise us for the good things. We did the good things. None of the bad things are our fault. It's only ever the good things. And you're like, okay, well then you're either a fucking idiot or you're so egotistically delusional that you think that you can just kind of control that sort of narrative. And both are problematic and both are wrong. At the end of the day, people are still going to criticize it. If SummerSlam sucks, Triple H is going to get booed. Because it's going to be bad creative. Unless it's like, obviously if somebody fucks up a whole bunch during their match, if Penta's out there botching like crazy, people are going to go, wow, man, Penta really fucked that match up. They're not going to blame Triple H for that. But if the creative is like, Danhausen's going to come out and do the money's on a pole match, and then I don't know, somebody, Dominic Mysterio is going to fart in his head and he's going to explode and whatever the hell, then it's going to be like, the fuck was this creative? You can't go, hey, blame Dom for that. Get some heat there, Hey, is it better under Triple H or is it better under Vince McMahon, who apparently didn't want Gunther to be called Walter because he thought people would call him Wally? The same dude that thought Thurman Sparky Plug was a good fucking idea, even though it's not even STP. But
it's not even STP.
Let's go Thurman.
Like Wally, it's such a funny thing because it's like, what weird tick entered your brain that you're like, well, no, they're gonna call him Wally.
And he would be the first one to want somebody to do it too. Like if that was John Cena feuding with him during the peak of John Cena, he'd be like, well, listen here, Wally.
Yeah,
flat out tell him to do it.
That's Jericho. Jericho gets the Wally. Wow. Like, oh God, that's such a funny story.
Any thoughts on Wally or the Triple H thing or any of that, Callum? Would you chant for Wally?
I would have tried for Walter because that was the name that he should have stuck with, but it didn't end up hasn't hurt him too much. Triple H's creative has hurt him, but not the name change has hurt him. But you mentioned it basically when you discussed like which of the 2 options it is. It's obviously the fact that Triple H is one of the most egotistical men who's ever worked in professional wrestling, and he's proven that for decades. And he's demonstrated that by the whole press conference thing of it going away, because whenever he's asked a question that he isn't perfectly prepared for, he puts his foot in his mouth constantly. Even when he's like, he fucking owns that radio station. Well, his company owns that radio station now, and he still can't help himself without saying something silly like that. It becomes a bit redundant to just reinforce the point that WWE doesn't care about its fans, and it will do anything to make itself look as great as possible. They can't possibly. No, it's the children's problem. Mm-hmm. It's like that's the whole mentality of WWE. It's been that way. As I say, it's like people complain about Triple H. Like it's been this way since Vince, probably before Vince, probably since that's been the mentality of a lot of like just pro wrestling companies. It's like we can't do anything. We don't do anything wrong. It's just the fans react the way they do, or the wrestlers are the problem, or I've got rioters underneath me that are all screwed up, and nobody ever points the finger at themselves because it's hard to do. Like, no one likes to like dress themselves down and look at all their flaws and say that's probably. And I say that applies to literally
everything in existence.
Yeah, well, a very significant number of people that like no one wants to look themselves in the mirror and say you're a fuck up.
Right. Yeah, it's like, hey, if you're a drug addict, you have to look in the mirror and you have to go, yeah, it's not somebody else's fault that I'm a drug addict. It's on me to do it. If you're somebody who is like, they got to get their shit together and be a better father or something. It's like, yeah, it's on you. It's any kind of negatives that you got, oh, I really want to lose weight. Okay, well, you have to do that,
And Triple H is, well, in some ways it's a genius, in other ways it's an issue, because when he was running NXT, this was perfect for him. Because the way that he booked it, and he had all these ex-Ring of Honor guys that the indie crowd absolutely adored and got behind, and he booked them well, and all this other stuff. His ego was allowed to run rampant, but was being adored for it. And when he comes in to replace Vince, he gets that bump up as well immediately afterwards. And now it's at the point of, okay, you've been in the job for a little while now, things have turned, you're bringing back the bloodline, but the actual peak of the bloodline is well in your rearview mirror now. So so now the ego is taking the bruising, and so he's naturally lashing out. And yeah, this is just an indication of it. Like, you want to throw some heat on anybody that isn't you, but especially because you're owned by another company now. You're not owned by your father-in-law. They can and will replace you if you do a bad job.
Mm.
So he's got to start throwing ammunition in other directions, just in case things don't turn around in the way that he's probably hoping to in the near future.
And not to dive too much into the politics stuff, but when you align yourself with people who are the types that will get rid of anybody who doesn't completely serve their own benefits, and then when the snake bites you back, you have nobody to blame but yourself. That's why you don't align yourself with those types of people. So I do not feel bad for anybody that ends up being like, hey, I'm on the politics side of things, and I didn't think that the scorpion would sting me. It's like, well, you were fine with stinging everybody else, and you're too stupid to realize that, yeah, they're going to turn on you. Of course they are.
And to be clear, his father-in-law would have also done this to anyone, but not him, because he's his father-in-law. And this isn't a Triple H specific problem. Like Callum says, this was an issue that I always had when Vince was there, or in other companies. Like, we heard the stories about TNA, Dixie openly said, if I hear one more fire Russo chant, I'm going to fire somebody else. It's like, what? It's like, why can't you just say, hey guys, stuff's bad, we're screwing up here, let's just do something else.
Even when they don't actually do it. Like, the last time that they really did that was when they went on the whole McMahon thing, came out on Monday Night Raw and said, yeah, we've been really fucking up a lot lately, so let's get rid of this Constable Corbin character and we'll do something else. And within 2 weeks, it was like, all right, you didn't learn anything from that fucking thing. You really just wanted to do the equivalent of when somebody's like, well, I'm not actually going to change, and I'm not actually sorry, but I'm going to say, I'm sorry you feel that way. And you're like, yeah, that's a big difference.
Speaking of stupid WWE things, once again,
could literally go anywhere because it's true.
Netflix has edited Raw to take out Brock Lesnar and Obafemi pointing the middle finger at each other.
My God.
I want you to absorb what I'm saying. A WWE program is being edited in such a way to avoid the middle finger.
You made more fucking money off the middle finger than you did on almost anything else. Stone Cold Steve Austin's whole gimmick at one point was the middle finger. Jesus Christ.
I don't know who to point the finger at here, but I'll bring it up every time because every time I'm going to be like, this is crazy because this is Netflix and they show all these crazy programs, but WWE is being edited in such a way that's like, well, wait a minute, we can't show this. What are we doing?
God, it would be so refreshing if somebody could just ask that question and be like, yo, what the fuck is this? And get an answer that isn't some kind of, well, there's partners and there's intricate things and, it's a part of the show and it's whatever. And it's like, no. Don't give me the bullshit. Give me the answer. I don't want to hear about any other kind of, excusatory shit. Like,
even if you're going to say that the answer is as lame as, well, now that the one feed is global, this would offend people in Timbuktu, so we're just editing out for everybody.
Yeah, just say that then.
Hate that, but like, at least I'd go fine. Like, it's like when I used to watch the Sky Sports edits of the Attitude Era shows, and they would cut away on the chair shots. It's like, okay, that's like for a specific market thing, but if it's that stupid, just say that. I would still be upset, but at least you know.
And wouldn't that be the better way of passing the buck and being like, fans don't understand that there's more to this and whatever, and it's not our fault all the time. Like when the people that leave WWE, we were talking earlier about the whole like, now I'm free of the shackles. We do end up hearing about certain times where it's like, oh, I was pitching stuff every single week and they just weren't listening to me. It wasn't my fault that my character went nowhere. I wanted to go in this direction, in that direction, whatever. And we're like, oh yeah, I could see that. I could completely see that. So now it's not your fault for not having any creative bones in your body. You didn't literally have the opportunity to do any of those. So now you look better because you explained the actual reality of the situation. If WWE is sitting there getting criticized about something and Triple H is like, why are you booing the creative? It's not my fault. I have to... Like if he were to say, let's be honest, because it's not going to happen, because all the fucking... well, you got to make sure that you appeal to the shareholders more than anything else. That's what matters more in everything nowadays. But if he were to have to be honest, and if he were to go like, look, I know you all don't like this fucking Slim Jim table, but that ends up giving us a lot of money. And it's really something that if we didn't have that, we probably would fire 2 more people from NXT. That's all you have to say for a lot of people to go, I mean, I don't like the Slim Jim tables, but at least I understand that. It's good that they're keeping those 2 people around in NXT. That's simple. But they're too goddamn afraid of like exposing what makes them money, if that can be considered like a negative. And it's only ever phrased in like, oh, well, the positive is that we did this kind of thing. It's this corporate bullshit thing. This is why I never got into business and why I never got into like any economics and stuff. It's because it's just a whole culture full of liars and scam artists and fucking disgusting people. Randy Orton's theme. All the lawyers are defenseless. All the doctors are diseased. They're being honest when they wrote that song. Huh?
It really is crazy, and I just want someone to take some level of small accountability, because it's not even a big thing. Just somebody say something. Why is this stupid thing happening?
Yeah, somebody say something, somebody do something. Good things are good. It's just, yeah. We talked a lot of Raw stuff when we got into the SummerSlam side of things. Let's go back to NXT a little bit, and then we circle around to a bevy of AEW type topics. So Grayson Waller kicked off NXT this week, and he did so in a way that was funny enough. Out of all the time frames to do it, he's like, fuck creative,
fuck the writers, like,
which I thought was hilarious that it's like it's happening at this time frame and all. And I've always liked Waller. I've always thought that there was something missing to his character, or something missing to he needs a different finisher or some kind of there's things to tweak, but I always thought that he had a lot of potential. And he's just been doing fuck all for so long. So if he's going to actually get a kind of prominent spot in NXT, put him back there. Sure. He criticized the Austin Theory tag team, talking about how he can't cut a good promo, and that he was dead weight and whatever. He criticized the New Day stuff, being I spent an entire year of my career pretending like I was at a funeral, and that was really just my career and stuff. They did the whole thing where he gets his microphone cut off, and by the end of the night, long story short, he's fighting with Tony D'Angelo and Mike Santana, who we now know by the last episode of the Hot Tags is Cruz Montana, which I guess is, as good of a fake WWE name as you can get at this point. and checks all the boxes of what we were talking about before. It's almost always like a family member reference or whatever. And it's looking like probably at the next show at a Heatwave or something along those lines, probably a triple threat. I like Grayson Waller. Tony D is not as cool as he used to be with this gimmick change, and Santana, or well, Santana's Montana now, I guess.
So I saw this, and my overall thoughts boil down to this is good, but the follow through has to be there. Because the one thing that's happened a lot since in the last 15 years is people do, versions of this like, I'm disgruntled and now I'm telling the truth. And it gets buzzed for a week, but then there's no follow through.
Mm-hmm.
I think Waller, for this to work for him and actually set him up for new things, there has to be a follow through there. Here, he can't just be used as a challenger of the month and then lose, because then you put your foot in your mouth. You know what I mean? And people were like excited to see him doing something. Like I saw Ripley tweet. I saw, a lot of people like, yay, Grayson Waller, do the thing. I saw one funny one from Tristan Angels that said, getting demoted to developmental at 36 is terrible. Grayson Waller will be in Evolve by the time he's 40.
Man, I fucking love Tristan Angels. He's proven himself to be one of my, this dude came in this year and I knew nothing about him, and I'm like, I fucking like this guy.
He seems like he's really cool, but Waller was really put over strong. He was one of the top 4 people in NXT 2.0. He got the chance to feud with Gargano. It seemed like he was gonna fight Shawn Michaels. And by the way, this is never a good sign, folks. When the 60-something-year-old booker of NXT is getting the loudest crowd reaction when the heel guy is cutting his promo because they want the 60-something-year-old NXT booker to stop him, it's not a great sign. But the reason this works is it's rooted in as much truth as you can give. Tony D does suck now, and he did get his shot only because everybody else left. What did he say about Santana? He's like, being a top guy in TNA, this isn't 2005.
Yeah.
That's like being the best basketball player at the YMCA. It's like, okay, that's like, it's a good promo. I hope he gets a chance to shine here, but overall, it means nothing if there's no consistent follow through.
Very, very much agreed. Yeah. If this ends up just being somebody to throw into a triple threat so that Tony D'Angelo can retain without pinning, I almost said Hannah Montana.
That's going to be fun.
And I literally almost followed it up with Cruz del Toro. So I'm going to be stuck with this for fucking, goddamn, it's going to take me a while to get used to Cruz Montana.
He's Santana Montana, damn it.
Hannah Montana, Santana, Cruz del Toro. If this is just a means for keeping the belt on Tony D and not having Santana, Montana, now he's going to be Montana. Fuck me. See, now it's the name's fault. It's not my fault.
Because Cruz del Toro used to be Raul Mendoza, and that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. If anybody wants to leave a comment below, it's making fun of the fact that I'm getting the name messed up. Why aren't you just booing Grayson Waller?
Why aren't you a better listener?
Ridiculous. If it's a means like that, I was thinking about with the Lady Shani thing, they put Lady Shani in there so that La Catalina doesn't have to take a loss and they could do the one-on-one a little bit later on. It's probably the same exact booking because they really love doing repetitive booking throughout the NXT system. And, if I had it my way, Grayson Waller probably would just get an upset and win that championship and be like, oh shit, look at that, NXT championship. But
I would have had Waller beat him right away because you have to say, yeah, I came in, I was right, fuck you. Mm-hmm. And then he can lose to Montana down the line.
He was right. Why do any of you fuckers watch NXT? This show sucks.
It's so
That's such. No, this stuff never ever works. Never
doesn't.
works. It because like even the people that talk to about these sort of promos, these worksheet promos, always go back to the CM Punk thing, the pipe bomb.
The pipe
So
bomb.
that's the biggest example. That's the biggest example of it, and that fucking failed. And no one can pretend that it didn't fail because it was it worked for one pay-per-view and then it all died immediately afterwards because they couldn't help themselves and get in their own way of their booking.
Mhm.
Like,
Right, but that's what I was saying. The follow through is never there.
well, yeah, that's the
It's
point. So
always
they
to
shouldn't
get people
they shouldn't even
talking,
yeah.
and then there's no actual, like, you don't produce anything out of it, because when you crap on the roster and you point out how much the roster sucks, why is that supposed to get me to want to continue to watch?
I mean, that's the main thing. So, like, the worst period of AEW's history came at a time where they were constantly shitting on their own roster, constantly like questioning things and saying that, oh, why are we here, or like we should be doing like more sports entertainment-y stuff or anything along those lines. There was just a period of time where it was just like you shouldn't be targeting the company or its wrestlers or saying that, like, you know, as a heel, you're always supposed to say that I'm better than anyone else in the roster. I'm here to prove myself, but you can't just go there just burying everybody, burying that, and then burying all TNA people as well. So another great shot in the arm for that working relationship as well. I'm sure they approved that line that he said in there as well, so that's great. But
sit in your cuck chair.
Yeah. But that's the, as I say, even if they do follow through on it, like everyone knows that. Well, I say everyone knows. There's a consensus among people that watch it know that the NXT men's division has been a weak point for a while. It just doesn't feel anywhere near as big as the women's division, where that has all of the character and the best matches and everything from NXT that's good flows through that division. And so Grayson Waller just echoed all the sentiments. Probably like this is what Triple H and Shawn Michaels probably say backstage about these people, because we saw it on Unreal, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Triple H talking.
It was Triple H talking to Helms, I believe.
Yeah, and just saying that the men just aren't stepping up.
Yeah.
And all this other things. So basically, he's probably transferring his own faults or the faults of a lot of people behind the scenes through Grayson Waller as a mouthpiece, probably to try and, in a way, obviously, do this sort of new gimmick change for Waller and lead to his story of him returning to NXT, but also probably as a subtle way to put a boot up the arse of all the men in NXT and just saying, when is one of you going to step up and take the bull by the horns a little bit?
And then their response creatively, because like the reality of a promo like that, whether that's what Grayson Waller personally believes or not, we don't know. More than likely, at least half of that is something that he actually believes, because he cut a convincing enough promo, and let's be honest, why would he be like, no, my favorite part of my career is when I wasn't doing fucking anything, like, yeah, I'm sure he actually believes a good portion of this. He might not hate the NXT roster the same way. That might be their way of being like, why don't you crap on the roster a little bit more and, whatever. But you got to assume at least a portion of this are his own feelings, but it has to get approved from WWE, which means that they're okay with it. But then they also write the follow-up, because they don't allow a reality situation to be, Waller actually says exactly what he feels, and then the roster people, the performers themselves, actually respond. So instead they have Mason Rook, the character Mason Rook, go, man, that makes me sad. It's like, what a badass you are character-wise, that you're like, hey, this fucker is saying that I suck and that we all suck. We should do something about that. And his response is like, oh, man, Grayson said some mean things. I don't really like that. So I guess I'm going to potentially interfere with Cam Hendrix's match.
and I hate that shit, because let's be honest. This is like, why would you ever allow yourself to be like, okay, yeah, I'll play the oversensitive jackass on TV? It's like, No, I think this is the one situation where you got to be like, hey, no, I'm a fucking TV character. Can I be a badass? Like, can I
Realistically,
not?
if Mason Rook's character was upset about that, if the person himself was, upset and we're supposed to believe that these are a bunch of badasses that are all fighting each other, and some of them are literally supernatural characters that for some reason end up getting signed into contracts to do professional wrestling, the suspension of disbelief, blah blah blah. Wouldn't Mason Rook interrupt Grayson Waller's promo to be like, yo, shut the fuck up, you're saying that I suck, let me go kick your ass? Instead, it's Shawn Michaels, who will not step back into the ring, cuts off the microphone. And but I like that Grayson Waller's in NXT. I hope he gets the title. I like that at the very least they're acknowledging that like they need to do more for some of these people. And like I like a lot of the NXT roster. Like they're talented people, but they just don't have it factor elements that haven't clicked yet. Like I like Miles Bourne. But when Miles Bourne comes out there and he's got generic ass music and he's just like, yeah, I'm going to pretend like I'm breaking something because I'm unbreakable. And it's like, you're a dude. You're just guy name in guy trunks and who is Guy. I don't care about Kendall Gray's character because who is she? I'm girl who wrestles. I don't care about, let's be honest, the Cruz Montana cuts a big promo about all his struggles and I get that there's the like I fought for this and I fought for that and it's like legitimate reactions and very emotional and it's like good on him for sticking to himself and proving himself right and like all the reality aspects to it, but the character is just a guy saying I want to win the title. That's not interesting. Give me something more to that, And when the entire roster is filled with people like that, no wonder anybody gives a shit about the NXT side of things. There's 50 fucking people on the roster between that and Evolve, and if I were to point out any of them and tell me what's Harlem Lewis's character?
Well, he's Harlem Lewis.
And it's like Aaron Rourke's got more of a character. Max Abrams has a group of jackasses with the Mog Squad thing. It's a little bit more of a character to a certain extent, but he is still just a dude. They're all just dudes and chicks, So, hey, if you're like, my character is, I'm even more excited than the other people are. That's not a character. Like Swipe Right's great. Vanity Project, they had a lot of potential. Great, cool, love it. But
and that's why you put Abrams in with the other douchebags.
It makes so much sense. I don't know why he's not a part of that. He should be, he should certainly be there instead of with Sade Rivera and Jakari Ball and CJ Valor and whatever. Other little bits of NXT stuff. Miles Bourne did retain over Cam Hendricks, so he and Tavion Heights are going to have the tag team title match next week. I doubt they're going to win those belts. Angel and Berto popped up because remember Bronco Name was part of the AAA thing, but you're not really supposed to, follow the logic there. So they lose Birthright, Zarya, and Ren Sinclair because we can't figure out anything to do with either of those championships. We're doing another champion versus champion thing, and if Ren Sinclair beats Zarya next week, she gets the title shot for the North American title. So essentially the exact same thing as what's happening with the Liv Morgan beats Io Sky after Io Sky beats Liv Morgan when it actually matters situation. So that's a thing in creative right now. Somebody got that into their head of you can beat the champion in a non-title scenario, then fight them in a title scenario, and we'll do that 6 times in a span of a month. And NXT Underground is happening next week. Do you guys think that Lola Vice is going to lose that for the first time, or is she going to actually, beat Kendall Gray?
She's losing and she's leaving. She's losing and going out.
Yep. That's how I feel.
And now Kendall Gray can take over the Underground gimmick.
She could, technically, yeah.
And Callum agreed.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, you said yeah. Okay. I heard like a something, but I couldn't really quite hear what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, that was NXT. There's little bits and pieces of other things, but who cares? And before we get into the full-blown AEW laundry list of stuff, what are some updates on New Japan? We got the G1 Climax still going on there. Any kind of big things happening over that the past couple days? No?
Hold on, Callum, G1.
Oh, G1, sorry. My fault. I saw something come up on my Twitter feed that I was distracted by, so I wasn't paying for a second. G1 close. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm back in the zone now. Okay, so G1 close. So at the moment, Block B is pretty interesting because there's 5 people on top with 8 points, and there's only 4 matches left to go in that block. So it literally, it's likely going to be any one of any. I can't remember how many people qualify. I think it's just 2 at this point. Yeah, it's just 2. The A1 and B1, A2 and B2, however you want to refer to it as. But it's Hanare, Callum Newman, Gabe Kidd, Oscar, and Drilla Maloney are all on 8 points. And way down at the bottom of Block B, besides Shota Umino, who of course is injured, is not competing at the event, is Zack Sabre Jr. on 2 points. So no chance of really now of Zack Sabre Jr. Winning another G1 Climax at this point. Block A, it's a lot closer between the top and the bottom because you have Takeshita at the top with 8 points, and then a bunch of people on 6, Yosuji, Rohei, Oyua, and Boltin Oleg, and then everyone else on 4 points. So that literally, with 4 matches to go, literally anybody could finish anywhere at that one, and it wouldn't be a shock. So Uemura is one of the people that isn't on 8 points in Block B. I still firmly believe that he's winning, so I imagine that he'll pick up most of the wins that's available to him in the remaining ones, because he's got people like Renrita and Hanare, who's one of the higher up ones. He's got to still face Gabe Kidd as well, who's really high up there. So yeah, I think that he'll get enough wins, especially because his last match is against Oscar, who's a tag team guy fundamentally. So Umar is definitely going to win that. And you always look at the last matches that people have for the tournament, because that's usually an indicator of are they likely to win that match? If so, then there's a good chance they'll go through to the next round. So but yeah, that's just a little update for now. They're still keeping most people pretty close together outside of Zack Sabre Jr. for whatever reason. He's just got no chance of getting through, but everyone else is all very much still in contention with like 4 matches to go. I think there are I believe there's 2 more matches in the next week, and then there's 2 matches the week afterwards, and by that point we'll know so by not next week's hot tags, but the week after that, we should know who the finalists are. So yeah, you can always follow all that stuff along in New Japan as well if you're in any way interested. I don't think I haven't watched a single match of any of it so far.
Really?
Because I'm just not interested in New Japan. I'm just following it along because I'll probably watch the semis and the final to see who actually wins, but I'm not interested enough to see the matches going through. And I haven't, even on like Twitter and stuff like that, I've heard like a couple of matches that have been really good. But I haven't gone around to check them yet. I usually save that towards the end of it just to see. I'll follow a couple of people that have been following the shows a lot more closely and pick out a few of the gems from that one. But I don't really get caught in the minutia this time around.
So at least when it goes, like the tournament's not over, obviously.
Yeah,
that's updates rather than the tournament being over.
Yeah, we're still at least 2 weeks away from that.
Yeah,
I think. So.
But is this any change for your like excitement level of Wrestle Kingdom at this point? Is it kind of being like, still just gotta wait until it's over and see what happens, or is it kind of like, all right, this is proving itself to be kind of on the mass side, or hey, this is awesome, this is great,
I'd say my assumption is that Uemura is going to win it, and he's going to challenge Yosuji for the title at Wrestle Kingdom. And at the moment, even though he's not leading his blog, there's nothing that's changing my assumption on that regard, and that's not particularly it's not one that's going to capture a wider audience beyond Japan. It's good in the sense that it's 2 younger guys like wrestling in the main event, and now it's okay, you're finally want to say pulling the trigger, but you're finally
trying to use people for the future, and
exactly, and trying to say like, okay, these are our new top guys, and we're gonna get behind them in order to like show everyone that we're serious about these people. My worry is it's all just a bit too little, too late. That they had their chance to really establish this years ago, and they by having like have Yosuji in Wrestle Kingdom match with Okada when he's still there, or when Ospreay's still there, like puts Yuya Uemura in a match with them. Like when you have those, when you use your already established standard bearers to, push through the new generation, and now essentially you're at the situation where the new generation has to push each other because none of the old top guys are left anymore. There's no Tetsuya Naito, there's no Kazuchika Okada, there's no Will Ospreay, there's no Jay White, there's no Kenny Omega. Like you're literally, you just had to have people.
Almost like restart.
Yeah, the people that all needed help from these legends are now having to just help each other because there's no one else there to do it. So, and yeah, I think the match itself, if it does end up being Tsuji versus Uemura, will be very good because they've always had good matches with each other beforehand and coming up in the mid card. But yeah, it's nothing that's going to light the I guess the more casual or wider audience's interest in that show. But maybe they'll surprise me. There's plenty of people. I say they've kept the points so close so far in the G1 that literally anybody could win. So they might surprise people and go with someone completely out of the blue. But I'm still hesitant to expect anything other than Uemura winning. So.
Well, we also have if you like tournaments and stuff, we've got this AEW Continental Cup, which had been trademarked, I think in May, if I remember correctly, maybe even before that. And we didn't hear anything about it. And then randomly on Dynamite, Jon Moxley's like, the locker room's buzzed about this Continental Cup and everybody like can't shut up about it. And I wasn't the only one that was like, what the fuck you mean? We haven't heard anything about it. Like, everybody keeps talking about this. And by everybody, I mean not a single soul. But apparently they did say what it was on Collision last night. I didn't watch Collision, but the side of it is like it's a tournament that leads to a number one contenders match.
So it's a 16-man single elimination tournament, which by the way Moxley is entered into. So at any point in time, Moxley has to win everything and make it to All In to even defend the title. But it's a 16-man elimination tournament that will conclude at All In, and all of the matches are randomized, which means every single time somebody wins a match, it's just immediately randomized. You're not guaranteed. There's no bracket. You're not guaranteed to face anyone. It's a randomized tournament, and names that have entered so far are, of course, Moxley, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Nigel McGuinness. So I believe they said we'd get the full 16 on Dynamite, but I like the idea a lot. I think this is really cool.
So wait, let backtrack a little bit because I'm making sure I get this correct. They are or they aren't going to announce all 16 people before they just do random things.
They're going to announce the people,
right?
But there's no like,
bracket.
Bracket. It's like the way they described it is, if you win, your name goes back in the hat. And if you lose, you're eliminated.
I'll explain it because it is based on the English football tournament, the FA Cup. So the FA Cup is the longest running footballing cup competition ever. It stretches back to the first time they did it was the 1872 season. So it's over 150 years old, this tournament. And so the basis of it is that every round of the tournament, every single team that is in the tournament is put into a hat or nowadays, obviously, more of a sophisticated machine. and they're drawn out 1-1 against each other. So essentially, one round, say if it's the FA Cup, it's like Arsenal could get drawn against a team in the lower levels of the Championship or League One or League Two, or even like further down the system, because the FA Cup is open to every single team in English football, no matter any level they are. It could be you could be in the like 15th division of English football. You're in the FA Cup. You have a chance of winning the FA Cup. Obviously, you're not going to, but that's like the way that they present it anyway. So presumably, if they're going to follow the same model, what will happen is you'll have the first 16 wrestlers that are going to be in the tournament, and they will be drawn randomly against each other. Then the 8 that will qualify will go back into the pot, and then will be drawn randomly against each other again.
Okay, and it's not that every match is like a full reset. So it's not like, say, like it's Moxley, Cassidy, O'Reilly, Strong, and McGuinness.
Yeah, so far.
So it's not like, okay, round 1, match 1 ends up being Moxley against Orange Cassidy. Moxley retains, and then they pull the names from match 2, and it turns out it's Kyle O'Reilly versus John Moxley again.
No, yeah.
No,
okay,
Moxley
so it's only one match per round for each person.
Yeah.
So
okay.
There will like over time it will form a bracket, but the bracket won't be set in stone from the beginning. It will be like
malleable.
You'll see at the end when it's the final, you'll be able to see the bracket as it went, but it's going to be a randomly drawn thing. So yeah, I like
that.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Tony Khan is very much enamored with football because he's a part owner of Fulham Football Club in the Premier League, as well as obviously all the other sporting ventures that they're associated with as well. So, and it's happening at Wembley Stadium, which is the home of the FA Cup. That's where it's always been held in terms of I imagine they might try and do the same thing they do with the football ones, where I can't remember how many steps it is, but there's like a long staircase that everyone climbs up if you win a football tournament there, and you celebrate with the cup on a balcony where you're like, you shake hands with the president of the Football Association and all this other stuff as well. And so they might try and do that to make it a bit more chintzy. But either way, I think it's a good way of showcasing the Continental Cup. And I think the Continental Championship as well. And I think this should become more of a norm for the Continental Championship. I feel like it shouldn't just be like the Continental Classic. I feel like there should be at least 3, maybe even 4 tournaments every year built around the Continental Championship, because then that makes it unique. It's like it's a championship that's defended through survival of the fittest tournaments, rather than just like any other title that's just defended at any time against any person. So I'd like to see more of this, and I think it's a good thing that they're doing it at this event because it's just befitting the stadium.
So yeah, I like some things about this, but I do have my criticisms. One of them being the naming of those things. To me, that strikes me as exactly why you should have that be the international thing. And the continental thing is more like, well,
Well, you're just getting into semantics about the naming, though.
The name thing, that's one of it. One of them being, it is a little bit weird to me that it's like, we have the Continental Classic, and then now we're going to have the Continental Cup, and it's like, oh man, there's nothing for the national title or whatever. Like, if this would be the national thing, which again, then it should be the international, it should be named differently, all that other kind of stuff. But like, to me, that strikes me as like, maybe that should have been more something happening with the Andrade side of it, or the international, whatever. I mean, obviously the Okada, Takeshita, Fletcher stuff is the international right now. The names, blah blah blah, whatever. But it is effectively then a number 1 contenders tournament to set up just a regular Continental Championship match, then, right?
No, because Moxley can lose.
Yeah, Moxley's in it, so the title is essentially held up in the same way the Continental Classic is as well. As soon as Moxley loses, he loses the championship. You can almost treat it in the same way they do the Continental Classic. The title was essentially, it's still Moxley's in possession, but it's in theory vacant for this tournament. Because as soon as Moxley loses it, it becomes vacant.
Right. So, like, while you're assuming, like most will, that this is how Moxley gets to Wembley, he could also just lose in the first round.
Right.
We
Yeah,
know,
he
we
could
know
do
that won't
but then
happen.
it does end up most likely, whether it's Moxley or somebody else, it is just a tournament to lead up to an AEW Continental Championship match. They just happen to also have a trophy to go along with it.
Yeah,
right.
And as I said, the trophy will be like the person will permanently hold it as well. So presumably this is. I think this is the clearest indication about everything. If they're saying like the person holds it, keeps it permanently, means they're probably not going to do this tournament again, and it's probably the clearest indication of anything that they're not going to do Wembley Stadium.
They're not going back to Wembley. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. So then, generally speaking, we don't know the 16 people that are in it, but out of, Moxley, Cassidy, O'Reilly, Strong, McInnes, my assumption would be it's probably Moxley in the finals against somebody, and Cassidy, O'Reilly, and Strong have some kind of conglomeration other match, because they also lost the trios titles to the Demand on Dynamite, which I'm not all that surprised about. The Demand is a team that makes a lot of sense to be the trios champions, and you could have the Demand against whoever at the all-in card, and the conglomeration can conglomerate and do some kind of 6-man tag or 20-man tag or whatever they end up wanting to do. But I like the idea of the Demand winning those belts. Fine with that, as long as conglomeration get on the card in some fashion. And then I don't love the cup thing in some ways, and some of the other ways the tournament sounds a little bit interesting and has a lot of flexibility. Especially with all these tournaments that keep happening in AEW, where it's like, well, we built this around this person and that person's injured, so now we're fucked. Maybe this is a good way to get around that a little bit. I don't know who Moxley would end up going up against, but I don't know. Maybe it's like Moxley against like Mystico or something. If they're really going to go for people like all over the place, all over different companies and stuff.
My
predictions.
My two standout ones are McGuinness, just because of the UK thing, just to have a match against Moxley, which should be fun. But I think they'll probably do that match before. I think that match will happen, but I think it'll happen in like the quarter or semi-final of the tournament instead. My guy's saying Hangman Moxley.
I mean, Hangman is back.
He's also focused on the trios, which could be a one-off for next week, but I don't mind the team with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I think they'll win it. We'll get to credit as well.
I definitely see them winning it.
Yeah, I see them winning it, but I also then see them losing it immediately afterwards, back to the Demand. But I think they'll just win it because it's in Mexico, and you've got Bandito and Hangman Page is beloved in Mexico. So
you guys are thinking Moxley and Brodito winning the trio title from the Demand?
Well, Hangman and Brodito.
Hangman, not Moxley. Yeah, I'm looking at Moxley on my screen.
Yeah.
Blame Triple H.
Yeah, I think 1,000% they're going to win. I could see them just losing it back to the Demand, or, maybe Gabe Kidd's good to go and they lose it to the Dogs.
Well, I think, I know we're bunching around in place, but I think the match one of the matches at All In will be the Dogs and the Death Riders against
Bang Bang and Motor City.
And Motor City Machine Guns, yeah. So in a stadium stampede. So I think that I would keep them out of the trios thing, just so you can do a trios match on like the buy-in or lower down the card. Which
to talk about the Motor City Machine Guns and all that, obviously we mentioned them 2 or 3 times already, but to officially put it out there, the Motor City Machine Guns are on the AEW roster. We saw it coming. We said that this was an absolute necessity, and if they're associated with the Bang Bang Gang, I mean, you got the Guns Up and the Motor City Bang. Like, it's all kind of like, this makes perfect sense. This is a good thing.
The only thing that this really exposed to me was people have a really negative perspective on Collision. Like, there were a lot of people who were like, well, they didn't show up on Dynamite, and that says everything you need to know about the way they're perceived. And I was like, damn, I didn't realize, because like Tony doesn't watch Collision because there's too much wrestling for Tony. Right. And I understand that it's occasionally skippable, but I didn't realize that people feel the way about Collision that some people just feel about like
Evolve.
like a main event or something. Like it was a like really negative perspective that they weren't introduced on the A show. I like that they just started off Collision with the immediate you didn't really think we weren't going to be here. Did you? I thought that was great.
I don't watch Collision, as you just said. Let's put it this way. I very infrequently watch Collision. It's not that I never ever watch a single episode, but it's like, I might watch one episode a month, and that's like a might scenario. But that's because it's predominantly, most of the time, it ends up just being matches, and it ends up just being like not as much storytelling stuff. Like there are stories that do take place there that sometimes I lose track of because it's like, well, that actually was announced on Collision and whatever, that kind of thing. But more often than not, I'll end up looking through the list of what happens, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, nothing happened, except for they confirmed something that they already talked about on Dynamite, or like the big news coming out of it was Excalibur at the last minute was like, and by the way, this is going to happen on Dynamite next week. Like, not really like, okay, wow, this is where they did the story that's going to lead to the main event. It's very clearly the B show. And once you set up that A show, B show mentality, people just, you give them an opportunity to rank something and they see a perceived value of one thing versus another thing. That puts a huge negative to whatever that thing is that they immediately have to put at number 2. It's kind of that whole, like, to get into the whole marketing side of things again. You have a small fry, a medium fry, and a large fry. The medium fry is mostly set so that you buy the large, because when you look at the small, you go, that's too small. And you look at the large, you go, I don't know if I want to pay that much money. And then when you see the medium and it's close enough to the large that you might as well spend that extra little bit of money, then a lot of people get the large. It's like fundamentally true. Like everybody always does it.
That's like, so I'm weird because I'm always like, no, medium's about right. Like,
well, see, it doesn't work on everybody, because if you think about things, then you do things like the last 2 times I ordered McDonald's, it was like, well, I know that if we get a medium fry and if I get the 2 Happy Meal things, so that way I can get the little toy to just be like, a little like, like, we got a little toy. Then the fries, I get the extra fry instead of the apples. And like, like I mathematically figured it out because most people don't think. But, when you set that kind of a mentality up, then you inherently force that on some people. And once it became clear that Collision was not equal to Dynamite in the way that like Raw and SmackDown, like right now, Raw and SmackDown are not equal. And SmackDown doesn't get the same attention that Raw does, even though they've got, Cody Rhodes over there and CM Punk over there and all these other, major things. It's still, if you're going to say to somebody, okay, you can only watch one show per week, they're going to go, well, I guess I'll watch Raw. Because it's the flagship show. That's the thing. So I don't blame people when they end up doing that, but at the same time, to make the argument for the other stuff, the only way you get around that is if you do stuff on the show. So when the Motor City Machine Guns pop up on Collision and people are like, well, why did they go on Collision? Well, if you never do anything, right? If you never do anything on Collision, then of course Collision is the bad show because nothing ever fucking happens on there. But if, hey, Motor City Machine Guns popped up on Collision, maybe there's a reason to watch Collision going forward. I don't know. Fucking, I forgot we're not on video. Just tapped myself in the brain. Like, think about it. Maybe Tony Khan wanted to do something on Collision to get people to pay more attention to Collision. See, we don't hate everybody that works in every single capacity. I'll defend the writers. No, if anybody that would be like, oh, you just hate the writers. No, I think that's a strategy that makes sense.
And not that we need to say it again. Fuck yeah, the Motor City Machine Guns are in AEW. It's they're gonna have some fun matches. They're gonna become one of the first team to win all the tag team titles of the modern companies. They're fucking great.
Isn't it weird that there's more of a chance that we're going to get New Day versus Motor City Machine Guns in AEW after they were
And when
both
they
on
were
the
on the
WWE
WWE
roster.
yeah, because
So stupid.
I mean, I think it's good to do these sort of things on Collision every now and again because it means that, as I say, it's obviously clearly the B show, but it's good to throw a big event on there every now and again to convince people like, hey, you should be watching on this show. I also feel like it may be like a bit of a slide to them in a way by saying, hey, you chose them over us the first time around, so we're going to debut you on Collision instead.
We're not going to give you the full red carpet because you would have gotten it the last time.
Yeah, because fundamentally, like, and maybe this is because I'm a little bit more petty than Tony Khan probably is, because he probably is like, that everyone says he's such a good guy. But I would have said to them, well, now you're gone, they let go of you. We would have given you this if you'd come with us the first time, but now you've kind of got no choice, so we're going to give you this instead. And you're going to take it because you're not going back. So, I would have.
I probably would have too. Yeah, I'd have been like, if we let's spit out a random number. If it was like, oh, your contract's $100,000, if you come here instead of WWE, and they go, nah, we're gonna go to WWE, and then they go, hey, so are you interested in us coming back? I'd be like, yeah, for 75.
Yeah, and I would do that because in the end they had a choice and they went the other direction, and they had every right to, but then it didn't work out for them there, and now they get to come over to AEW, and I'm sure they have some good stuff. Some good matches. I'm not like I would say I'm looking forward to seeing the matches they have, but I'm not like going like crazy about it because I think that they're at a certain point in their careers now where it's the emphasis should be more on putting people over rather than them becoming like a dominant set of champions. Obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing them wrestle FTR because I don't think that match has never happened before, so that'd be cool. And I know they've wrestled the Bucks before, but it's always be a fun time to do that. Edge and Christian, so that'd be good. I'd say there's plenty of great tag teams for them to work with in AEW, and there might be even more coming with the New Day as well. But I would rather they, do the top tag team act for like a year, but then they start focusing on getting the next generation over. In the same way that I feel that should be applying to pretty much everyone in the tag division, because the tag division in AEW is pretty on the old side. That you can't just keep cycling through the Bucks and FTR and like look at the other options like Edge and Christian or the Hurt Syndicate or mostly Machine Guns, the New Day. If they come in, they're all people in their like 40, all in their 40s to 50s. Like we need to start pushing. Like we need to start putting more emphasis on guys like the Rascals as a tag team act. So hopefully they come in, they do some really good stuff for a year or two, and then they start helping the next generation on their way through because the tag team division does need a bit of a reset.
Imagine hearing all that and just going, they should sign the Hardys.
Again, it went so well the first time.
Yeah. Speaking of contracts, it's like, oh, you want to come back? All right, here's how many hot dogs you get.
Well, I don't think that there's any worry that the Machine Guns are going to do exactly that. And I am excited for the matches that they're going to have because even in the limited time they were in WWE, they had two of the best matches of that year with the TLC matches at both the SmackDown After Mania and the one at SummerSlam. So Motor City Machine Guns are still entirely capable of being the Motor City Machine Guns. So we're going to get some good matches. And yeah, they've always given back, so they're going to do that in spades. I do think it's time to start wondering, and I'm not up and up on the indies, but like, who are the hot young teams on the come up in wrestling? Like we do need some youth in the tag team division.
That I could not tell you at all, naturally. But
I mean, at least push Wheeler and Garcia or something. Like,
well, I mean, Garcia's getting pushed around quite a bit, right?
Yeah, literally.
He's getting pushed by the fans. He's getting thrown into the wall by Will Ospreay. Like he's. quicker note about the My AEW stuff. You guys brought this to my attention beforehand. My AEW is now going to include United Wrestling Network, Metroplex Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Eve, Rev Pro, Westside Extreme Wrestling, AML/WrestleCade, and include a bunch of CMLL shows and obviously the AEW and ROH stuff going forward and all. So expanding that network, not a bad thing. Giving people more bang for their buck. That's a good, yeah. More of a reason to sign up for my AEW thing if you're into that, like, you know, you want to watch all these other companies and pay the same price. Hell yeah.
Gives a lot of other promotions a good home to introduce them to wrestling fans, and I think it's a good partnership as long as obviously the other side is getting a good deal for it. I assume AEW is paying a decent rate to get these shows broadcast on there as opposed to other platforms as well. And again, I feel like it's another indication of this. There is a clear line now in the sand between one set of wrestling promotions and another set of wrestling promotions. And there's a few stragglers in the middle that haven't really come down on one side or the other, but it feels like more and more it's going to be like pick a side time for a lot of these promotions.
Mm. And obviously some of them are split naturally, like the AAA versus CMLL side of things, but then other ones are like, at one point, WWE almost bought RevPro, it seemed. And, you know, now they're over here. You know, sometimes those relationships switch and they don't work out, and sometimes they work out for the better in a completely different way. And if you are more tapped into the AEW side of things, you're more than likely going to be interested in things like, you know, the Maple Leaf Pro, for instance, than you would if you were on the WWE side of things. It's almost like they naturally fit more. So,
by the way, shout out to Maple Leaf Pro. Adam Copeland going to do a show at the Maple Leaf Gardens later this year. I think that's
cool
awesome.
For them. Let's talk about Jacques Rougeau.
Hell yeah.
Another Canadian hero.
Yeah, speaking of the Canadian side of things, so yeah, everybody knows all the amazing things that the Rougeau brothers did for AEW, right? All their massive career that they had in AEW. Hey, let's go ahead. We're in Canada. We're gonna give them a shout out for no fucking reason other than being in Canada. Okay, fine. Apparently, Jacques Rougeau had his own produced video package tribute that went, according to the reports, really long and had a bunch of AI crap that they didn't want to put on there, and also had music that they couldn't license, so they didn't use it, and he threw a little tantrum like a little bitch baby.
So if you've ever heard anything, you know this is par for the course for Jacques Rougeau. And it's so funny to see the stories like, hell yeah, they were going to throw him out. And then people being like, but Ray is an angel at expires. So it's just awesome to see that one of the legends of wrestling just won't change his ways.
The more things change, the more things stay the same, kind of.
And then I got a kick out of the buy-in when he was like, hello to my haters. Yeah, like he knows he's a dick. He acted like a dick, and they almost threw him out. I just think that story's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, the fact is that obviously Tony Khan is such a lover of the history of pro wrestling, and he gives these guys one more opportunity to really be in front of a big crowd and talk about their legacy and their history, and you know, because he loves the history of wrestling, and he probably like was a fan of the Rougeaus or has watched like the Rougeau stuff and wanted to give them an opportunity to be in front of their people, and then one of the guys just can't help himself, just fuck it all up and get in it and feel like the other side's the problem. Again, like I just don't get, like, because you've just ruined any opportunity you had of like repeat visits, or whenever they come to Canada or Montreal again, then you could show up and do something special. It's like, okay, this is now your one and done thing. Like, cut the cord, the relationship over. It's just like such an idiot. But
sometimes people can't help but to step on their own feet. Yeah.
Dante always gets his man, though.
But he has no balls. Now, it's a reference. It's a very, very, very deep cut that I've explained on on Smack Talk years ago. So if anybody gets that, you've been around that long on this podcast, fucking pat yourself on the back. There's a whole lore to the mount he has no balls that I can get into on Discord or something if somebody wants me to.
I'm sure after that, Tony Khan will want to mount his balls on the mantelpiece or something.
That's going to be the next cup. Real quick rundown of some other things from the things we'll talk about. Any of these if you guys feel like diving deeper into them. But I'm just going to toss out my very quick thoughts about them. Andrade retains the national title in a 3-way. Okay, some other matches. Like we didn't talk about all the matches or all the other things, so who cares about some of these. But Maya World retains the TBS title over Persephone. They bring back the Chris Statlander side of things, so it makes sense for that feud.
I do want to, real quick, because stories going around that people in WWE are flabbergasted by how AEW is booking Persephone. First of all, I don't know why they give a fuck. Second of all, yeah, look, I'm flabbergasted by how you're booking Jordan Grace.
Yeah.
And Mariah May. Like, just thought I'd say that.
Well, it's obvious why they give a fuck, because they want to sign her and move her over to Triple H. But that's like neither here nor there. So that's why they're talking about this and pushing that stuff out to try and just get in people's head about saying, oh, they're doing such a horrible job booking them because she should come over and be part of our Mexican promotion instead. The CMLL World Champion should be in our contingent instead, and we book her so much better than they possibly could.
Let's try to control that narrative so that we be, hey, if you like being booked poorly, let us book you poorly.
Well, yeah, but they'll just showcase like Stephanie Vaquera and Lola Vice and people like that. Some of the few women who are Latina that are actually being pushed. And just say, hey, look at those. Don't look at the others. Look at those though. Those are great. And you'll be one of them, not one of those. You'll be them.
Yeah. The setup with the Moxley stuff, beats Commander. Not at all surprising. Willow Nightingale had a nice championship celebration where everybody was telling her that she deserves it and stuff. She's getting all choked up. She deserves it.
Yeah. Good things are good. Yeah.
Good things are good. Yeah. I didn't get your guys' opinions about the Mick Foley Divine Dominion thing at Redemption. I
still haven't watched Redemption, so I can't tell.
Have you seen the Bow Wow?
I don't know the context of it. I know he did do it, but I don't know the wider context of it.
I liked much better the idea of the Bang Bang Gang being like, we got 2 words for you, and him being like, bang bang, and then being like, nah, guns up. It's like, yeah, that's a much better way than having him be like, ruff, ruff, ruff,
all right.
Love me some Foley, but at the same time, you gotta call bad things bad things.
Chuckle, like he's just sitting in his chair going, oh wow. Oh wow! Like, okay, you know what, Mick Foley? I'm just glad that you have your mental faculties. Like, go ahead and do whatever you want. I know Meltzer said that and the Danhausen thing were 2 of the worst things he's seen on TV in recent memory, and he's not wrong. But I think it's hysterical for me.
It's one of those things where I feel like, from the bits I've seen of it, like, I don't imagine like someone told Mick, can you do this? And he
did it of his own accord.
I feel like, yes. So I'm more inclined to just go along with it, even if it's not great. It's like, okay, that was his choice to do that, to try and put them over. And so, it's a bit weird, but
it was a choice.
Yeah.
Not all choices are good choices, but it was a choice.
But a big fan of that.
How do you guys feel about the promo that ended the night?
Oh, well, first I wanted to bring up we talked about the Champion celebration. I thought the Willow and Mercedes segment was incredible. Such a brilliant promo segment between those two. I think it was the best promo work I've ever seen Mercedes do.
I kind of have to agree.
Yeah, and I feel like if it wasn't in the UK, and to be fair, like, obviously it's never going to happen because if there was a perfect time to do it on the last show and they didn't do it, but like, I would say I would be I'm in an iron about whether this is the main event, but obviously, you know, if it's in the UK, that's going to be the main event. The closing segment, I think, was really good. It felt really organic. I know it's the idea of like and I know we've seen too much of this now. On if you go across both WWE and AEW, of like the two baby faces that love and respect each other, but they get in each other's way about it. I feel like the way they explained Kenny Omega's decision to attack Ospreay afterwards made sense.
Me too.
In that he pushed the idea of, well, I think that you thought about taking me out, and so I just had to get you. First of all, you can't just do like the heroic stuff after you just watch me get the shit kicked out of me by your buddies, and you can't just like leave them and just think that I'm going to be okay with it.
Yeah, a true friend wouldn't hesitate.
Exactly, yeah. And then he slaps the shit out of Ospreay a few times, basically just pushes a pretty similar narrative to the Cody and CM Punk thing. I think it works better in this scenario. The only reason for that is not in the case of me saying like, oh, AEW better than WWE. I think it works better because Ospreay obviously hasn't been the AEW World Champion yet, and he has lost opportunities of winning like top AEW championships, like but either the Continental title or the World title before, and obviously missed out on the Owen last year. So it makes more sense for Omega to say like, you always crumble under pressure. You can't win the big one and slap him down. It doesn't really make as much sense when CM Punk's talking to the guy that's basically held the WWE Championship pretty much non-stop since WrestleMania 40. But then Ospreay slaps him back and teases going for the Hidden Blade, and then cuts a really impassioned promo himself. The thing about Ospreay is that he sometimes stumbles over his words, so he's not as clear and consistent a promo as someone who's, let's say, like Grayson Waller that we were talking about earlier, or a Miz or Cody Rhodes even. But it always feels very raw and very like it's coming off the top of his head almost. Like he has a vague idea about what he wants to say, but he just lets his mouth fly and hope for the best. And yeah, I thought that this was an excellent way to end the show, considering the fact it went like half an hour longer than an episode of Dynamite should
yeah, that pisses me off. Every week it's like it's 10:15 and they're like, well, we got to cut to a commercial break and then we're going to come back and have a backstage segment to set up our main event. It's like, what the fuck you mean you're 15 minutes over already?
Yeah, but at least it made it like somewhat reasonable. Well, it made it like somewhat okay because the segment itself was so good. So I was very happy with the main event segment.
I believe, first of all, just on the overrun thing, I think it's time they start advertising Dynamite as a 2.5 hour show. It overruns so consistently that they probably should. The closing segment was great. It was so much like a lot of jokes were made about the Goku and Vegeta thing. This felt like this is intense. This is personal. They took an awkward closing segment of the pay-per-view and kind of made it make sense where you can understand why he would go with the Death Riders, and they're keeping them close enough that I'm not convinced Moxley won't be featured in the end of that show. But yeah, I thought this was great, and it's the level of intensity that this story needs. You know, I was a big fan of it, and just like Callum said, the Willow and Mercedes thing made a really strong case for Willow being Mercedes' greatest rival with the things she was saying. And it's all true, too. It just so happens she was in the ring with Willow when she broke her ankle. She was in the ring with Willow when she won the TBS title and lost it. Like, Willow has defined her story outside of WWE, and I think it's a really cool thing that we're eventually going to see play out. And when you factor in the stuff that they've both done with Stat, that there's a fun thread there, and I'm really enjoying the build to the major matches of All In thus far, because even we didn't talk about it, but even the sit down with Edge and Christian and the Young Bucks was better than I thought it was going to be. I was fully expecting Christian to just be full blown. I don't care about you guys, but they showed the proper level of respect. Christian got his cheekiness in by saying, "I'm glad your wives are going to be at the show," but It was great. So far, they're building All In the way I like to see companies build to the biggest show of the year. Urgency, seriousness. That's the vibe I like.
Yeah, I would say that, like, probably for the first time ever, and this isn't really like a huge knock on Redemption, because like, even though I don't think it was like, it's certainly nowhere near the best show of the year from what I've seen of it and what I've heard about it. But I feel like this is the first time you probably ever say that the post pay-per-view Dynamite was better than the pay-per-view. I thought this was definitely one of their best shows, TV shows of the year so far, and it's going to be followed up next week with what was probably their best shows of the year last year, which is Grand Slam Mexico.
It's good enough for transition to get into that. We got 8 matches announced for that show, so basically a special episode of Dynamite, and the matches are important. So let's talk about them. You got Speedball Mike Bailey. He's going to fail up against Kyle Fletcher for the International Championship, but they'll have a great match.
Yeah, so yeah, they will definitely lose, but like, we know how great the chemistry between these two is. And Kyle Fletcher's just off the back of having probably the best match on Redemption with Bandido. So it's like, put Kyle Fletcher in match, and match is great. He's as much a sure thing as there is in wrestling right now.
I do wish that Speedball was feuding with Kevin Knight more, but I know that's Darby's thing right now. This match should be great, and yeah, there's probably no one better than Kyle Fletcher right now.
Will Ospreay's up against Mark Davis. It is a Mexico City street fight. No outside interference, but the fact being a street fight, which opens the opportunity for that to happen. But how crazy would it be? Mark Davis beats Ospreay on this. Like, clearly he's not going to.
This is just an avenue to show that Ospreay can get really vicious and be a killer on his own terms.
Which makes sense.
Yep, have Ospreay win. They're going into this 1-on-1, so at least there's a nice little story arc for it about the reason why they need to have this rubber match. And yeah, that's another way of saying, well, how great of a turnaround and how great of a year Mark Davis has had this year.
I know, isn't it great?
Yeah, crazy. Statlander against Persephone. I'm assuming Persephone might win that one.
I'm surprised this isn't for the title. Which makes me throw a little bit of doubt about whether does Statlander win, and that's the challenger for the next big CMLL show is Persephone versus Statlander for the title.
Probably.
Could be.
I guess so.
So that's the only thing that puts me a little bit pauseful. I would say Persephone should win, just because she's lost a few matches recently and obviously got pinned by Statlander in the TBS title big match they did a little while ago, Survival of the Fittest match. So I would have Persephone win, but if you are trying to build to a title match between these two, then you probably need to have Statlander win.
Agreed.
Yep. Makes perfect sense that way. You got Willow and the Brawling Birds against Mercedes and the Divine Dominion, so the connection between Mercedes and Megan Bayne and Lena Cross pays off in that way. Doesn't have anything to do with Triangle Madness, but you got Pivot, and Willow's got her connection with Hayter and Windsor to set up the whole Divine Dominion against Brawling Birds thing and all that. This makes perfect sense. I'm assuming Willow and the Brawling Birds win, so that way you could be like, all right, Brawling Birds, now you get a number one contenders scenario.
Yeah, I'm assuming one of the birds pins one of Divine Dominion, and then you get they win the belts at All In.
Yeah, that makes as much sense as anything else, because the match isn't set in stone as yet, even though we know that's the direction they're going in. But yeah, it's one of those ones where it can go either way. It doesn't really matter. So, but yeah, it should be a fun match.
On the men's trio side of it, we were talking about it earlier, the Good, Bad, and the Ugly, Bandito and Hangman against the Demand for the trios titles, which, I mean, they could just lose it that quickly, but I'm going to say Demand retains.
Demand should probably lose, and then Good, Bad, and the Ugly can either be trios champions going into All In, or maybe there's another trio on the come up that we're not thinking about, but I can see them being a transitional champion.
Yeah, I think I mean I would like to see the Good, Bad, and the Ugly win, just even if it is only brief, because I think they're such a beloved act in Mexico that I feel like that it would just be a nice feel good moment for the crowd. You don't get every opportunity to get the crowds like this to have a big moment, so you should take it when you have the opportunity, even if it is only for a week and a half. But it wouldn't surprise me if the McMahon just retained the title, because you've got like the Lethal Swirl in their corner as well doing things for them. So yeah, it wouldn't be out of the question. I guess the big question is who. I know they like brought this up on a Fuse Collision where they mentioned it, but which one is the good, the bad, and the ugly out of these three?
Well, if you have to ask,
I mean, Bandito's wanted, so I'm assuming that he's the bad.
I just assumed that Brody would be the ugly because he's not pretty in the ring and he beats the shit out of people.
But he's also seemingly the best dude out of everybody. like the most morally, good side of things. And maybe Bandito's ugly as fuck underneath that mask.
Yeah, I'd say that's Bandito's the only one that covers his face. So he's
that is true.
And Hangman, he could be a bad guy. So Hangman's bad guy, Brody King's good guy, Bandito, you ugly as fuck.
Only one of these guys has burnt another person's house down. So
I was gonna say, but Hangman's got a pretty ugly spirit. Like,
yeah.
What's the over under on all three of them wearing Abolish Ice shirts?
That'd be great if they did. Everybody on the whole roster should.
It was last year that Brody went viral with it. I'm gonna guess he's definitely wearing it, if not all three.
I would hope so. Hence the good.
Why? Well, ice doesn't exist in Mexico because it's too hot.
There's another trios title, or no, the trios match, not trios title. Mystico, Jericho, and Darby Allin against three of the Don Callis family. You got Kevin Knight, Hechicero, and Okada, aka Hechicero's taking that pin, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you assume so. I mean, it could be a case of, because the match that is most clearly set up from this is Darby Allin and Kevin Knight for the TNT Championship at Wembley. Unless they decide to go Jericho and Kevin Knight, which would be a weird pivot, but not one that I'm totally against, as long as Kevin Knight wins, obviously. But so I could see Kevin Knight taking the pin against either one of those ones to set up the match. And are you really going to pin Hechicero in front of his hometown crowd?
Yeah, fuck him. No,
yeah, I mean, I forgot to think. Yo soy Hechicero.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense, like, of any one of those guys to just beat Kevin Knight, even if it's not the match at All In, like they could have like a one-off match for the TNT title against Kevin Knight on an episode of Dynamite or Collision. So yeah, just have Mystico beat Kevin Knight or Mystico pin any one of them, because it's like at the end of the day, that's the crowd that you're appealing to.
Why is Jericho in this?
Because they said they wanted a match against against three former world champions.
Ah.
So Mystico's the current CMLL middleweight champion, which is technically a world champion at that level. Darby Allin is obviously, and Darby Allin and Chris Jericho are both former AEW world champions. So,
by the way, Mystico and Okada in one match, pretty fun.
Yep.
Kobe Cage are with the Young Bucks against Death Riders. You got Pac, Yuta, Moxley, and Garcia. 8-man tag.
Fun for me. I mean, like this time.
Yeah, let's get a little bit of a shudder when Copeland and Moxley are in the same ring. But, because it's like, this was the low point.
Well, Cage is also there, so should we be worried?
Well, who pins Garcia? Because Garcia is, he's the guy that gets thrown around.
Yuta's the pin guy, isn't he?
Yuta's the pin here.
But yeah, whoever gets, I assume like one of Cope or Cage gets the pin on Yuta. But it's cool. It's got a cool match.
And then we have the 3-way to determine who gets the number one spot in the Casino Gauntlet match that's happening at All In. So obviously Casino Gauntlet's for a title shot. Andrade being national champion, you would think he would be defending the national title, but he's thrown in here instead. And it's him against Tommaso Ciampa and Commander, which really, it doesn't matter who wins this, because at the end of the day, the people that are in this are still going to be in the Casino Gauntlet. So being the number one spot gives you a slight advantage of like being able to potentially get the pin before other people come out, but it's not a guarantee. It's not like it's some, the Royal Rumble, you have to get through all 30 people, it's different setup scenario. So, normally whoever gets the number one spot doesn't typically end up winning. But I kind of feel like they're going to go with maybe either Ciampa or Andrade. I don't think Commander's here to win. I think he's going to take the pin.
They're going with Andrade, and then MJF is number 2.
Could very well happen. Yeah.
I think they'll go with Andrade because of the big entrance now that he's now got and how you know stuff. So it'll just be a good way of getting all of that showpiece in the first match, especially in the first match of the Gauntlet, because they'll do all the usual stuff, and that'll be the moment where he gets to pose with whichever woman they've picked out for ringside in the first section of the match. I would say, even though he's not winning a lot, it's nice to see Commander back. Commander's always fun.
Yeah, he's really good.
Actually, the very, very last thing for us to talk about for this episode of Hot Tags, we do have a tag team title match happening on SmackDown tonight. It doesn't seem like it's the match that they had announced prior to it and spent a couple weeks pretending that they were going to do, because the implication was that the AAA tag team champions, War Raiders, Eric and Ivar, would put their belts up on the line in a champion match with Wepa Up. But all of the advertisement stuff leading up into this tonight is all just focusing on the WWE tag team titles. So instead of it being for both sets of belts, it will just be for the SmackDown tag team titles. And based off of how little tag teams they have over on that brand and how much they keep teasing that Priest and R-Truth are going to split up, and the fact that they're even doing this to begin with, kind of feel like War Raiders are probably winning them.
Merge the belts.
They should.
I'm sorry.
In some ways.
I'm sorry. This is the one area where I just no, you're not doing brand split proper. Just merge the belts, because these tag team divisions are non-existent.
Raw and SmackDown should have one set of tag teams, like one set of tag team championships. They've proven that they do not want to have two sets. They just don't. So get rid of it. Whether you book Braun Breaker and Logan Paul and Austin Theory and whoever you want to do, you book them to beat Wepa Up or something, that would make so much more sense to me than for you to give it to the AAA tag team title holders. And then at the same time, why the fuck you have to go to the AAA people that are on there? They were on Monday Night Raw and they went over to AAA, and now you gotta bring them in for SmackDown.
Well, it's funny when you release two of the best tag teams of their generation, suddenly you need tag teams. Hey, didn't we have the War Raiders? Can we get
But hey, don't criticize the fact that creative has nothing for the Lucha Bros and the Mercedes Machine Guns and the New Day and the Creed Brothers and the
the Creed. Where the fuck are the Creed Brothers?
Yeah, Julius is training Kendall in a segment on NXT, and that's it. But don't blame creative. Why aren't you booing the War Raiders for this? It's their fault.
I think they were a main event recently against was it the
some other team nobody gives a shit.
and Dorian Van Dirks.
Speaking of main event, I believe the main event of this week's main event was Carmelo Hayes and Ricky Saints. You can either look at that as a really fun, good main event, or you can look at that as what the hell happened to
Ricky Saints. Carmelo, yeah. Carmelo's not in that U.S. title match. He's, you get to main event. Isn't that better? He goes, fuck no. Can I go to AEW? Yeah, I'm going to say Wepa Up loses the belts tonight.
Yeah, I think it's best if they do.
It's one of those things that I would normally agree, but then I just feel like I've said this every time they defended the titles, so it just never happens. So you never know.
Ultimately, because of the way the tag team division's booked, it literally doesn't matter. It's a coin toss. It's, do they want to split Wepa Up now or no?
Yeah, and they could very well just go back to Talatanga and Tamatonga, who have just been, we talked about the whole Shinsuke Nakamura thing went nowhere, and then the split with the MFT thing went nowhere, and they've been focused on Solo being able to be a little bit more of a babyface, and then the Tamatonga and Talatanga have just not been a part of the shows. So it's well, it's great when your career goes I'm going to go on my own so that I can stand out more. And when I do that, you won't see me for a while. So maybe it's because they just want to wait and they're going to put those belts back on them whenever they pull the trigger on that. So it could go either way. Damian Priest and R-Truth could just beat the War Raiders, and they had nothing to do for 2 months. So they figured, let's just have them backstage talk about fighting the AAA tag team champions because they're around, and then we'll come back around to the Tonga team. But yeah, is what it is. We'll figure out what happens later on tonight. Of course, we'll talk about that on the next round of the hot tags, which will come after all the other things that are happening on this weekend because we've got SummerSlam. So tomorrow is SummerSlam Saturday. Sunday is obviously SummerSlam Sunday. Post shows immediately following those, and I'll have the live coverage up on the website as per usual. And if you want to show your support for all the other things you can find under A Mango Tree, then just go to anthonymango.com or amangotree.com. You can find all the link tree list things over on that side of it. Follow Rob and Callum too while you're at it.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Check out the Wrestling Apologist Substack, where you can see some of my writing about pro wrestling, including I recently wrote about the main event of SummerSlam, and I have some other pieces in the works. And you should also check out Insider Gaming, where I report on gaming news, but you should check out what Callum has going on and our latest Fantasy League update.
Yes, first of all, you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Wigmeister14 and check out the power rankings every Saturday over on smark.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. But now we head on over to the Fantasy League, the final Fantasy League update before SummerSlam, which is obviously happening this weekend. So the current situation, I haven't updated it as of this current week's standing, so points are pretty much as you were, or pretty similar at the very least. I'm leading by a fairly big margin, but like it's shortened down a bit after Saturday night's main event. Everyone is in the 200 plus points range now, with Rob in last place at the moment on 203, Tony up to 212, and me on 283. But then we get into a trade situation where I've made all three of my trades that I can make in this period, so I obviously will not be switching my team up in any way, but both Tony and Rob do have one trade available if they do wish to switch things up right now. So Tony has first dibs on any trades.
I'm looking at the roster right now, trying to figure out if there's anybody that I want to swap out. Blake Monroe is still not doing anything for it. It's, come on, girl, do something.
Well, she obviously won't be at SummerSlam, or at least not wrestling at SummerSlam, because
right.
The United States title, it won't be on the line. So
she'll win it right after I remove her from the roster.
There's a good chance of that, isn't
it? Yeah. Based off of the people that are here and the things that I'm looking at, I think I think I actually am going to drop somebody. I think the likelihood that we're going to see this guy do anything more. Actually, no, I'm going to wait. No.
Okay. I'm going to stick with it. Is Rob, are you going to make your final trade that you can make in this period?
I am so curious looking at Tony's team, who he nearly dropped, but I guess we'll find out soon. I'm either going to drop R-Truth or Penta. Because
it's Tony D'Angelo.
I also have Soruka, who did lose.
Yeah, she did.
So I've got a few people that I should consider dropping. And my fucking protected pick is a women's champion who's not showing up. What are you going to do? I think I'm going to drop Penta and pick up someone who I might need to drop immediately on the next thing, especially if she doesn't win tonight, but I'm going to take a chance on it. Lash Legend.
Okay.
Watch Julia win. Watch him actually put Julia over. So
that is the full trade, unless you've had a change of heart now, Tony, to make your trade.
Nah, I'll still wait.
Okay, cool. So it will obviously reset as of post SummerSlam up until the next show, which might be quite a while actually, considering if they aren't going to do another big show between that and Money in the Bank. So yep, that's how our teams look like then for the SummerSlam weekend. So follow all that stuff along at WWEFantasyLeague.com. And yeah, just see how we're looking like after SummerSlam.
Alrighty, everyone. Well, as it usually goes, drop your thoughts in the comment section below and tell us what you thought about all the different topics that we got into on this episode. We've got the SummerSlam stuff, as I mentioned before, and another round of the hot tags, of course, next week. The main event of what we'll get into for next week is kind of up in the air right now. So if you have any suggestions for that, let us know. We'll try to plan something out for Tuesday or Wednesday or so. But yeah, that's going to do us in for the episode of the Hot Tags. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your support. And we will see you next time. For now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.